This is Lloyd Hopkins. We are back inside the Teacher's Lounge. Let's jump back into the conversation. What do you think is the most difficult hardship that you've had to face as a teacher thus far?
I think it's just some of my kids, like what they go home to and the things that they've told me. And, and when you can't do anything to help them, then you go home at night and you just worry and you think about them. And I think that's probably been the toughest part of my job.
How do you turn that off? Because I couldn't. So, like I said, I used to work park and recreation, and I worked for the city of Glendale Park and Recreation Department. And this was actually simultaneous when I was teacher assistant. I was on a school campus 12 to 13 hours a day. I would teacher assistant a day, and then I was running after school recreation programs at night. This was before I had kids, so I couldn't even imagine that duality. Because one reason why I left direct service with kids was because I didn't feel like I could properly give my all to both. That somebody was going to suffer. It was either going to be my kids or it was going to be the kids at the school I was working at. One of them was going to suffer because I care. I care that deeply. And I really wanted to see all these kids succeed. And so what would happen is that when I would have a student who I was struggling with, like I remember I had a kid who was like the most naturally gifted athlete I probably ever seen in my life. Like he was just an athlete, and like one of those kids that with the proper environment, man, he would be out of here. He'd be in the league today. But what was so tough about him is that when he would come to school, because we all believed in him and his talent, we were like pouring into him, loving on him, making sure he knew how much potential he had. But he would go home and unfortunately he lived in a, physically, mentally, emotionally abusive environment. And everything that we poured into him and we did all day would be undone when he went home. And that's when I first really realized how important the home environment is. Because it really, you can have some amazing people around you outside of the home, but what's going on in the home actually has some of the greatest effect on you. And I really took it hard. It was difficult for me to see that, to go through that. I would internalize it. I would take it home and I'd be all stressed out. And I had a coach. There was the PE coach at the school at the time had to have a conversation with me, and he was more experienced. He had been in the profession for a lot of years, and he and I had a good relationship. His name was Coach Lacey, Coach Mark Lacey. And one day, Coach Lacey pulled me to the side because I was stressing about this kid. And I mean, literally, like I was wrecked. My day was ruined. Like you could just see, like I was probably on the verge of tears because I couldn't get through to him. I couldn't reach him. And the teacher had to tell me that, you're not going to be able to save all of them. Because at that time I thought I could, and I was trying to. And he told me, you're not going to be able to save all of them. If you just impact one, you've made a difference, and you got to take it one kid at a time. And you do your best, you show up with love, but you got to understand that you're one man and you can't do it all. You're not going to be able to save all of them. And I needed to hear that because I did. I was younger and I really was trying to save every kid I came across. And his words helped me to compartmentalize and help me to understand that only thing I can do is show up, lead with love, and hopefully it resonates, hopefully it makes an impact. And hopefully it makes a difference. But if it doesn't, I did what I could, and even now when I run into some of those kids, I still have some of the best relationships with them because they knew I cared for them. They really knew. And even to this day, they know that I care about them. So how do you create that balance for yourself?
It's hard. There are some days when I go home and I just want to cry, and then there are other days, but I have to remember that like my daughter needs me too, and she needs to be also important in my life and equally important as them, if not more so. And so I mean, I try really hard just to make smile, and I try not to take my work home with me a lot.
Yeah. No, that's important. What kind of hobbies do you have? What do you do for fun?
So to be totally honest with you, I like to deep sea fish.
Do you really?
I do. My biggest fish was like an 85-pound halibut.
Oh
And
wow! Do you got it framed on your wall?
I have it in my classroom actually. And
What?
it's a big picture of me. Yeah.
Where
So
where did
I
you catch where did you catch this fish at?
it was right off the coast of Sitka, which is part of Alaska. It's like a little island. I'm like showing you like there's a map here or something.
Yeah. You know what? I'm always fascinated by Alaska because for I think the majority of my life I didn't realize people lived in Alaska. And so when I actually I thought that Alaska was just like this big block of ice. And once I learned like people live in Alaska, I was like, wow, how do you live in Alaska? It's dark so many days out the year and all of that kind of stuff. And I've never been. And so anytime I talk to somebody that's been to Alaska, I'm instantly amazed. Like, wow, what was it like in Alaska? So do you get up to Alaska a lot, or do you deep?
Before I had my kid, yes. I used to try to go like once a year. I haven't been up there in 5 years since she's been born. But yeah, I used to go every summer. I used to really like it.
Are you from that area?
No.
No.
I actually the first time I went, I was like 14 and I went with a friend named Tasha. And because she had family that lived up there. And so we took 2 weeks and I went up there with her and like her family. And then after that, like I fell in love with it. And then I just started going.
Is she the one that got you into deep sea fishing?
Yeah. So the first time I went was with her. And then after that I would just go by myself, you know what I mean? Like I don't care.
And you're just hooked. You just love it that much, catching a big old fish out the deep sea.
Yep.
That's amazing. Going back inside the school and into the classroom, because we like to give the listening audience, especially other parents, insight into the day-to-day of a teacher and what the experience is like. What does the average parent not know about what's going on in the halls?
I would probably say like the things that the teachers do behind the scenes. I think a lot of people think that teachers are like just paid to work through the summers and things like that, or not to not work through the summers, but really like they take part of our paycheck, you know, every 2 weeks, so that way it will get us through the summer. And like there's a lot of work that we do that they have no idea about. There's a lot of meetings, IEP meetings, special ed meetings, you know, like that we do a ton of after hours stuff. Especially if you run a club, like I did cheer last year. And I would be, you know, I want to get out of there to like 7 or 8 at night usually. And like, it was, you know what I mean? Like, I just think parents don't really understand how much you actually do as a teacher.
So you mean to tell me you're not done at 3 o'clock and you get summers off and you're just sipping tea and with your feet kicked up every day? What?
Yeah, it's a big shocker.
But that's what people think. People don't realize that teachers go way beyond the bell. They're easily pulling in 10 to 12-hour days, working through summers. It's not this kickback job, and largely because your workload. You have huge responsibilities on your plate. And what I always talk about is that teachers have all the responsibility and none of the power. You know, and I think we need to do more listening to teachers. I think we need to do more understanding the environment, understand that not only are you teaching, but you're also running clubs, and you're running that club so these kids can have some extracurriculars, because you don't always have volunteers and people coming on your campus to do these things for you. And so you have to take it on because you care about the kids that you're serving.
Yeah. It is. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of fun too. I feel like my kids keep me young. They make me laugh. You know, I don't know.
You got that young youthful energy anyway. Have you thought about starting a deep sea fishing club?
No, I never actually have, to be honest. That's kind of a good
I'm planting the seed right now.
Right.
Deep sea fishing club, especially with everything going virtual right now, you can find some type of deep sea fishing, I don't know, thing that your kids can do in a virtual classroom. Something.
That's a good thought. I took my daughter fishing when we went up north. I showed her, it was the first time she ever went fishing, and like we didn't catch anything, but I mean, she had fun. And
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
just in the ocean,
yeah.
but
Where's your favorite place to fish here in Arizona?
I like to go up to Forest Lake. It's like, like an hour north of Heber, or I'm sorry, an hour south of Heber. My family owns like a little cabin up there that my grandfather built. Like, I don't know, there's a lake kind of close by.
Yeah, yeah,
Quiet.
yeah. We do. So I'm not a fisher. I'm definitely not a deep sea fisher. Like I don't even want to. I'm nowhere on your level. But we learn to fish and cook fish at this little fishing hole in Sedona. They have I can't think of the name of the area, but they got like a trout farm out there, and you can come in and you can pay for sticks and and bait and all that kind of stuff. And then you can go over there and drop a line and catch fish, toss it on the grill and cook it.
Oh,
And so we actually learned, but prior to going there, and our first time going there was probably 6 years ago. Prior to going there, my wife and I had no idea how to cook fish, how to prepare fish. Now we cook fish all the time. It's I think it's something different when you actually catch it and cook it and eat it, and it's a different experience. Eating what you catch.
yes, it is for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. um, we're we're in a unique time, and that's why having the being able to lean into our hobbies and everything is important, especially right now. Even though you might not be able to do them as much, because I'm sure you haven't been fishing since the pandemic hit, and so you haven't been able to have that outlet. But it's important. So we have a pandemic, and we kind of talked about how you've been handling it personally and at home. But now you have to prepare for a school year. Now you have to teach kids in the middle of a pandemic, and you have to consider their health, and not only their health but your health. Has your school decided how they're? Has your school decided whether they're going virtual or in person yet?
Well, we're virtual until October 13th for sure. Now they might
Okay.
extend that depending. So we have already started school actually. Let's see. So it's been totally different to start the school year like this. I got to be honest.
Yeah.
It's been it's been kind of a weird experience so far. It's not bad, but it's not good. You know what I mean? Like I miss my
Yeah.
kids. Um, I would say you don't have as much of a connection going virtual that you normally would, start to form with them. So it's definitely more, more, like they're far away. More, you know what I mean? Obviously.
Yeah. They call it distance learning for a reason because it's
Right.
distant.